Yeah, we got a rod sticking out. Looks like it punched the steering rack. Oh my God, man, it shoved a piece of something back into the intake port. That's ridiculous. Tired of this, Grandpa. So in the true holiday spirit, this gift just keeps on giving. The damage from the engine extended all the way as far as the bell housing on the transmission, and it goes from the mounting point of the starter through to the access hole where the lines come out for the throttle bearing. And we were just gonna send it, but I think with the amount of torsion that the starter generates, it would probably end up breaking eventually. So the proper thing to do is get it welded. So I guess let's go see if John can bail us out of this one.
What are you doing here?
Morning. So I've got this transmission here that Nicky did his best job on.
Yeah, it's not gonna be too bad because your split goes down here to just an opening for your slave cylinder. It's not gonna be pretty, but it's gonna work.
It's like penetrated with gear oil, so like all the way through.
Yeah, we'll do our best to get it done. Yeah, it'll work. Oh, fuck. Not supposed to do that.
Awesome. So let's get this cleaned up and see what we can do.
Super clean. This, dude, if you leave this here, it'll start etching the aluminum. That's how caustic it is.
Yeah, that's what I started using, but it's not as aggressive.
See how fast that's coming off?
Oh yeah, it smells like the oven cleaner.
Okay. All right, so the main focus on why we drill these things or via mount this way is any cast aluminum. If you don't remove any crack that you're gonna repair, it's gonna split. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, may never happen. But your best is to get it as far thin as possible so we start to see it splitting completely from both sides. So we have the inside complete, and if you roll the transmission over, you'll see how we have the outside in the same fashion. So the thinner sections here, when we do weld this, it's gonna blow away. It's gonna look like you ruined this. Don't worry about it. It'll be all right. The thicker stuff might take a little more persuasion to heat up and get it to melt and blend. But by the time we're done, we could take it as far as you'll never see it, or we could take it as far as it's done. It's up to you guys.
I think good enough's good enough.
No one's gonna see it anyway.
Yeah.
Little, what's the word? Grinder and paint makes it the welder I ain't.
Yeah.
But yeah, from here we're gonna probably find some way to compress this gap back to where it's supposed to be. Start welding and see what happens. Try to get more on the edge of the bell housing.
Yeah.
Seeing the crack on the transmission, you know, really changes your perspective on life, because, you know, it's like when you teach a man to fish, you feed him for a day. In this situation, it shows that it takes a team, a village, to build a race car, it seems. Let's hope it doesn't happen again, because, you know, after all your boy was doing was driving to work, trying to be a good boy, get to work on time, but one thing leads to another. You know, the rod pops out of the engine to say hello to the starter. The starter say what's up to the bell housing, I guess, in the transmission, and here we are at Big John Fabrication, where we fill holes.
It's always gonna look bad. Like, it's just so filled with oil and age and grease, grime, everything from the road.
Homie said age. It's filled with age.
That's clean in comparison, but once you start getting down here, you're gonna blow all this out. You're gonna start getting all this black soot. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the filler pushing through. Don't worry about making a mess. We just have to get solid sound aluminum in there before we can grind it back out and re-weld it, make it pretty.
So should I start from the top and come down, or?
Give me this. Move your hand. When you can start from here where it's already kind of laid in. Build this up first, so that way you have the strength to keep this from collapsing in on itself. So just to get your hand back, you might want to just build this up a little bit.
I made it worse.
Yeah, you made it worse.
It looked good for a second, and then it did that.
That's just all the extra oils that's hanging out around the edges around here. We need to clean it 100% properly because, as you can see, the oil's right on the toe of the weld zone. And you see that little line right there where it starts to crack?
Yeah.
That's gonna happen. That's where we start. Leave that alone. Come down here, work off this tack, try to bridge it forward some more. Don't go too crazy because we're just gonna have to keep stitching it basically. Because if you try to run this all in one shot, it's just gonna drop out in the backside.
Pedal to the floor the whole time?
No, I'm gonna drop you some amperage if you're gonna do that.
Floor it?
Yes. No, don't floor it.
Because it seemed like it only started to do something once I got into it more.
And that's thicker section, yeah, but you're about to hit 1/8 inch or less, so we'll go to 135. Let you play from there.
Man.
All right, so what you're not doing is getting hot enough. So don't be afraid of letting it melt and kind of drop in. Because you'll see the puddle and it'll just like literally drop in. That's why we're doing the inside first, I mean pretty up the outside.
It's uglier. Should I try to hit that top part again?
We have to clean off all that schmutz first, then we'll go back at it. Because all the black specks and everything are all carbon deposits, and so once you get it up, clean it back up to shiny aluminum, then we'll try it again.
All right, so we are back from John's, and it's a few days later. But now we're in the home stretch of this project, I hope. Transmission is all welded up. As you can see, there's no more crack on the inside. And it's got some battle scars on the outside. So we can start putting this back together, and then putting the clutch and flywheel and everything on the motor, and then getting the whole drivetrain put back together, and then put the harness on it, and then throw it back in the car. So hopefully that's as easily as this works out. So let's go. All right, so as far as the inside of the bell housing here, the only thing we really got to replace is the throttle bearing, which we got a brand new JST unit. Same thing that was in there before, just replacing it because the one that was in there got kind of messed up somehow. And it looks like it's just two 10 mil bolts. So let's pull up that guy on there. I put the lines back. And I already messed up because we didn't put on the dust boot. All right, so now I put on our high pressure line and put it through the dust boot first. I think that's how it goes. Yeah, something like that. And then on the inside, just line up your high pressure port and make sure it clips in with the clip. Bolt down the hard line and the distribution block, which is a T30. And I think that's pretty much it. This one will tighten down when we remove this little plug that I put on there. All right, so that's pretty much ready to go, and now we can get the engine off the stand and get the clutch and flywheel on it and then try to put the two together. So that's gonna be a pain. All right, so first we need to get the pressure plate off, and that's, I think, like 12 millimeter bolts. So just gonna take those off. I think it's best to take these off in like a star pattern like you would a wheel or something like that. Just because this thing is like spring loaded. All right, and then just give our clutch disc a little check over, make sure it still looks good. Looks decent, I guess. Okay, and then for the flywheel, it's a T55. And these can be a pain. Oh, thank God. And just wiggle this guy off. Just be careful not to drop it because this has your crank trigger on it. So if you mess up any of these teeth, your engine's probably not going to run right anymore. All right, so one last maintenance item we got to do on this engine is the rear main seal, just because might as well. One way to get the old one off that I've seen is just put a screw right through the there we go. All right, so once you have the screw in there, you can just pry it out. There we go. So yeah, hopefully doesn't leave too much little junk on there. And then get your new seal and put some oil on the inside surface. And try and press it in. Let's try and use the old one. That looks pretty good. All right, so now we're ready to put our flywheel on. You just gotta make sure you're lining up the dowel with the one on the crank. Other than that, it should be good. Okay, now we can go look up the torque spec for those. Okay, so for the flywheel bolts, the torque spec is apparently 65. I was pretty sure it was 70, but service manual says otherwise, so okay. So again, I'm gonna do it in a crisscross pattern, and everything's just in the way. Also, we have our little socket against the bell housing bolt to stop the flywheel. Let's give it a quick wipe down with brake cleaner. Now, to put the clutch disc back on, we need a clutch tool, and I hope I still have one laying around somewhere. Haha, it pays to be a hoarder. This is the correct one at least. Yeah. Also gonna wipe down the pressure plate. Okay, and for the pressure plate, the torque specs are in 2 steps, and the first step is 11 foot-pounds, which is basically hand tight, and then 29 foot-pounds. Again, you want to try and do it in the crisscross pattern, or star pattern, whatever you want to call it. All right, now for step 2 is 29 foot-pounds. Okay, now we can remove the alignment tool and all the bell housing bolts, and we can get the transmission on, which sounds easier than it is. Okay, last bit that we got to bolt on is the starter, which we got to get a second-hand unit because our other one got punched in the teeth. Let's get this guy bolted on. All right, now we can put the harness on, and then I think we're done. Yeah, that looks right, maybe, probably. Okay, manifold goes on hopefully for the last time this time. Little help here.
Dr. Phil! Oh, for somebody help!
So we're about to call it a night because we ran into a little roadblock that we forgot about. So quick recap from the previous episode and our findings. Rod and the engine go brrr, and messed up the power steering line, like literally like punched a hole in it. Yeah, I forgot about that. I was planning on trying to like bend up some brake line and like show you guys how to do that, but I don't really feel like doing that right now. We were gonna call it and then like figure out what to do later and then come back to this, but then I thought we have a G35 just laying in the backyard, and I pulled the one of the hard lines off the rack, and I mean it works. It's a little funky looking, but it's good enough. I just had to like bend this side quite a bit because it was like facing the wrong direction. So I like bent it up and then out a bit, and that lined up. This one was already like the right shape. Oh, and it's actually like backwards because on the G35, this end was what bolted to the rack, but I just flipped it around because it fit better this way. And this one, like I said, it was already the right shape. It was just pointing like over there. So I like twisted it and it lined up pretty good. So this one also got kind of smacked, but it wasn't nearly as bad as this one. Like there's not a hole in it. It just got kind of kinked a little bit. So that one I just like rounded, like I squeezed it with some pliers to make it more round again. And I think that one's gonna be just fine. So now it can continue. All right, so I need to put the shifter assembly back on. And I hope there's room to do this because I haven't done it this way before. I'm mainly concerned about being able to tighten the top bolts and also getting this back through the shifter hole. Got the tiniest 10 mil I could find. Dang it, they're not 10 mils. All right. And last thing is the actual shifter itself. All right, and then get the dust boot back on. We had some plugs left over when we put the harness on that we couldn't get to. That's these guys. And they go down here. And these are just gonna go to our secondary O2 sensors. And this one over here is our starter solenoid. Right, and I'm just tightening our clutch line. Right, now for the transmission cross member. It's always fun. You ever just sit under your car and just contemplate your life choices? Me neither. Okay, next thing we gotta do is put the whole undercarriage back together, and it's got like layers to it, like an ogre. So first thing we're gonna put back is the drive shaft, then the exhaust, then the braces and stuff, and I think that's it. Maybe some heat shields or something. So first thing, I need to make sure this doesn't leak first. I have the rear of the car jacked up slightly higher than the front, just to try and keep all the gear oil inside this thing. Just gotta make sure not to destroy the output shaft seal. And your carrier bearing, also want to be careful with. Next we're gonna just put back the bolts for the differential. All right, all the bolts are back. In hindsight, we didn't need to remove the whole drive shaft. We could have unbolted it from here, but I think there was a heat shield covering this part at the time, so that would have been great to know. I mean, I did know, but I forgot about that. That's how we did it on the G35, but so more work than we needed to do, but oh well, too late now. Time these ones, which are 14s. And then differential. So that's the drive shaft. Next up is gonna be, I guess I have to put the cats back on, or the test pipes. All right, so we're gonna put the test pipes back on, and we got these fancy, thick exhaust gaskets from Concept Z Performance. Hopefully these seal up and stand up to the pops and bangs better than the old ones. And don't forget to plug in your O2 sensor. Pro tip, get one of these super long extensions because it makes this job way easier. Now for the third one, you can't really get to it easily from this side. So what I like to do is put a wrench on the back of it. We'll start with this one. Then you get every single extension that you have, and you have a straight shot at that bolt from the outside. Ta-da! All right, so we got the other end of the exhaust on the hanger already, so we just need to bolt up the down pipes to the white pipe, and we got brand new vibrant exhaust gaskets. All right, last thing is going to be this brace. I think the engine might still be a little crooked. We haven't bolted the engine mounts down, so that's probably why this isn't reaching exactly, but I mean, this one doesn't seem as far off as that one. I don't know, we'll fix the engine and then deal with this again. But yeah, for now we're done under here. Let's go. Okay, so we got pretty much everything in the undercarriage taken care of. Now we got to deal with this mess and get everything connected back to the engine. Biggest pain is probably gonna be the heater hoses, so let's try and tackle that first. All right, so we need to get those heater hoses back on, and we're gonna take the clamps off of one of the old heater hoses and carefully holding it with vice grips. Let's try that. I think we got it. Need to release the vice grips in a position that we can at least hope to get them back on there if we need to. Now for this other side, there's slightly more room on this one. Oh my god, we had a clamp already back there. Cool. That's staying there. All right, that's our heater hoses. Nice quick and easy one's gonna be our fuel feed, which just gets bolted back on the block there. Okay, next is random hoses here and there. Again with the vice grips, put it on the solenoid. Now for our vacuum brake booster. All right, so we got the line for the evaporator, under the dash part. And now our power cables. So these are the ones that come from our alternator and starter. One thing we already changed is the high pressure line for the power steering pump. This was already modified to fit the sport pump, but now we switched to a non-sport pump. So we had to unbend it, so it looks all stupid now. And a little concerned that that's, so one of the things we changed was the high pressure line for the power steering pump. We changed the pump. This line was originally meant for this pump. We had a sport pump before, because this is a G37 Sport, so we bent the line to fit that pump. Now we had to unbend the line to fit where it was supposed to go. So now it looks all stupid, and we may or may not have damaged it. So we'll see if it leaks or not, but yeah. The other thing we gotta connect is the reservoir, which is different now. So I guess we'll just cut it. Okay, so this needs to go there. So we're gonna try cutting it about there. That didn't work. Just split the whole hose. Oh, cool. Okay, well, need to make a trip to AutoZone, I guess. So I guess let's move on to the harness. Just a couple plugs that need to go back in through the dash. So feed them through the little access port here. There we go. All right, so this needs to go under the windshield. There's like little slots there that hold it up, like that. And this little grommet should just clip into place there. And then we plug this guy in. Okay, so this needs to be, lever needs to be all the way up. And then that should slide in. And I'll push it down. That'll draw it in and close it up. There's a little booty back on. And then I can move on to under the dash to plug those plugs in. And I should probably clean my hands first. Okay, so we got the end of our harness down here, and then the other plug that comes from the dash. This is a lot easier if you're a small person. For me, it's kind of a pain in the ass. Luckily, the ECU is like literally like right down here, so there's that. That's right. You gotta plug them in order from back to front or front to back. Then the dash harness. This one's like right up against the glove box. You could probably remove the glove box if you're really having trouble, but I like to struggle. Okay. Yeah, love that satisfying click at the end. So, fun fact, this little Sakura subway handhold is from Up Garage that we brought Nikki from Japan during our time over there. Nice to see you still using it. All right, another minor but super important detail is bolting your grounds back down. If you don't do this, the engine may not even turn on. Might run stupid. All because these little grounds aren't bolted on. We're missing clamps. Okay, we got our clamps. Yeah, that looks reasonable. Number 2. Okay, guess we put the oil in. All right, looks like Nikki went with some Valvoline full synthetic. Good choice. It's pretty cool. They're, what is it, VR1? They're like top of the line oil, I guess. It's like blue colored. So that's pretty cool. Is it whistling? There's not enough left. I think that was the PCV breather. That's funny. Yeah. Okay, oil capacity for a VQ37 is 5.2 quarts, but it's a VQ, so I'm gonna go with the 5.5. And then we'll save the other half for later. I forgot we broke one of them. Great. Let's hope we have this hose. Close enough. Crisis averted. It pays to hoard. All right, so next up, we had to bleed our clutch slave cylinder, and then connect up our battery, and bolt up our front core support, install our new upper radiator hose, and get this car running because we were running short on our deadline, but luckily we made it. So that's gonna be it for this episode. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully Nikki keeps this thing in one piece and we don't see it back in this garage because I'm gonna cry. But that's gonna be it. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.